Welcome to week 8. This week we are going to have a review of the first 3 units that we studied this semester. In other words, we're going to review Unit 2, Unit 4, and Unit 6. Let's start with an overview of the topics that we learned in these units. In Unit 2, in the first week, we learned about companies. This was a very straightforward topic, and it was a little more technical than our later topics. In this unit, we learned about different industries and also company structure. We learned through the listening and the reading activities about different company philosophies, the way that they are managed, and the way that employees are treated by CEOs. Then in our office culture moment, we talked about office dress codes. Do you remember what they were? Hopefully you've been able to implement this knowledge in your day-to-day life. The vocabulary in this unit was a little bit more technical than in later units. In Unit 6, we learned about entertaining. Specifically, we learned about entertaining people from abroad. But before we learned about business conferences and business events, we had a little discussion about job interviews and job interview skills. We talked about job interviews because at the time, our intention was to have a job interview for the midterm exam. However, the midterm exam was canceled. Let's go over Unit 6. In this unit, first, we talked about making a good impression at a job interview, and then we discussed different types of entertainment. For example, going to a restaurant or watching a sport event. We also talked about the benefits of hosting business partners from abroad. What is the purpose of business entertaining? And what is a good method of doing it? Then, in our office culture moment, we talked about Western restaurant etiquette, which can be very important if you're taking a client to a restaurant. Then in Unit 4, we talked about great ideas. Not the products, but the ideas and innovation behind them. Where do ideas come from, and what makes an idea really special and successful? We talked about creating innovations, but also the evolution of innovations. For example, someone invented the smartphone, but since the initial invention, other companies have evolved that idea to create newer products that are similar or that have a similar origin. In our office culture moment, we talked about how to write a business email, and you practice writing a business email in response to a job ad. You guys wrote such great business emails too. I really enjoyed reading them. All right, so now that we remember the topics that we discussed, let's jump into our vocabulary review. We'll start with Unit 2 vocabulary. In the vocabulary review, I'm going to show you the definition of the word. See if you can remember the vocabulary that matches. Take a look at the picture. The corporate office that oversees operations of the entire company is called the what? It's called the headquarters. We can also call it the head office. And remember, we said we use the word head to talk about the leader of something. So you can be the head accountant or the head sales rep. Next word. You can see a graph with some percentages. The portion of the total market that is controlled by a particular company is called what? It's called the market share. So as you can see, Apple has a pretty firm control on the market. It has the largest market share. Next, we can see 2 different apps that are competing against each other. The amount of money taken by a business in a particular period is called what? This is called turnover. Basically, the amount of product that was moved. This is the turnover. Next, we see a dollar that's getting divided and then taken home. The profit made after operating expenses is called net profit. So we take all of our sales, we deduct all of the things that we owe to other people, and then we're left with the net profit. Next, please take a look at the red circle, Nestle. A company which owns and controls a collection of companies across a range of sectors is called what? Think of a family. It's called a parent company. How about this? The cost to buy a single share is called? It's called the share price. Remember, this is not the same as the share value. Share value is calculated based on what we predict that share will be worth. The share price is the actual dollar amount that it's worth right now. Now, going back to our family, let's look at the bottom company. A company that is owned and controlled by a parent company is called a subsidiary. However, we can also call this a child company. A parent company, child company. And finally, the most important people maybe in a company, the employees in a company or industry are called the workforce. Yes, the power of the worker, the workforce. Now, in our listening section, we listened to Susan Barat. She is the CEO of Nature's Way Food. And in this audio, she discusses the company's structure and the key factors of its success. She emphasized the importance of employee engagement and clarity of direction. So first, she explained what the company is and what they do, and then she explained the reasons why she thought Nature's Way Foods was very successful. And in her opinion, it was related to the management of its workforce. Then you read two articles. The articles compared two companies and the different ways they engage their employees or their workforce. Tata follows the philosophy of professional leadership, whereas John Lewis treats their employees as partners. So remember, in Tata, they were looking for the new CEO to replace their previous leadership. And they were choosing very carefully for one very qualified individual. But at John Lewis, all of the employees were given an equal voice in making decisions for the company. Now let's talk about the grammar in Unit 2. We have two verb tenses in this unit, and we can see examples of these verb tenses. In the first sentence, the verb is read. Huawei sells smartphones. And in the second, sorry, I'm driving right now. Can you remember the names of these verb tenses? The first is the present simple, and the second is present continuous. The present simple tense is used to talk about routines, habits, and facts. These are things that repeat or that are always true. The present continuous is used to talk about actions in progress. In other words, they're happening right now and they're temporary. They're going to end soon. We can also use the present continuous to talk about future arrangements. For example, this weekend, I'm having a barbecue. This is a present continuous to talk about future plans. If we look more closely at the present continuous, you will see a be verb in the present tense, I am, and a verb with ing. I am driving. She is watching TV. Now let's look at Unit 6. In Unit 6, our vocabulary consisted of adjective word partnerships. These are adjectives that are used to describe products or describe things that we want to sell. So let's match the the adjectives with the nouns. Can you remember which ones are partners? Then we'll check your answers. Okay, let's check your answers. Number 1 is a cozy atmosphere, somewhere that feels comfortable. Next, a convenient location. It's easy to get there. Efficient service. People who are able to serve you quickly. Exciting entertainment. Pretty self-explanatory. Local or regional food. Food from this area, which means it might be culturally unique. And of course, reasonable prices. It's not too expensive and it's not too cheap either. So now that we've made the adjective word partnerships, you might start to remember. What kind of industry do you think these word partnerships are describing? Yes, we're talking about restaurants. So in this unit, when we talked about entertaining guests, we focused on restaurant entertainment because that is the most popular entertainment for business partners, especially when it's just a short meeting or perhaps the first time meeting someone. In the listening section, we heard some advice about creating successful corporate events. Dr. Chris Burton, chief executive of a corporate entertainment company, discusses which sports are popular among clients. He believes that clear purpose and good catering, staff, and follow-up are crucial for planning a successful corporate event. So in this listening section, we expanded our view from a simple restaurant engagement to a large-scale corporate event. And of course, the bigger the event, the more difficult it can be to organize everything and make sure that everyone is happy. Then, in our reading section, we read the testimonies from 3 people. These 3 people were interviewed about their most memorable corporate events. They enjoyed activities that were unique and exciting, and they loved good food. You might remember that one of the people talked about listening to some live musicians at the Wimbledon tennis game. And who doesn't love good free food? In Unit 6, our grammar topic was about this. Can you remember what it is? Bring on, bring about, bring in. Take up, take down, take away. These are called multi-word verbs. And a multi-word verb is a combination of a verb and a preposition or verb and an adverb. Sometimes the multi-word verb can have a completely different, unrelated meaning. In that case, it's being used as a sort of expression. For example, my friend broke up with her boyfriend. She didn't literally break, but the expression means that their relationship ended. There are many different ways to use multi-word verbs. So in our unit, we talked about taking someone out to dinner, for example, or someone will want to look around the city and visit all of the exciting tourist spots. Now let's look at Unit 4, Great Ideas. In Unit 4, we have some vocabulary words. I'm going to show you a situation and I want you to complete the sentence. Many people aspire to own luxury items, like luxury cars and private jets, because these items, when it makes them feel good, it raises their status. Next. 2020, this is it. Experts say that a real estate market crash will happen soon. I think we should and buy real estate while the prices are low. Think about the situation. There's something happening, and now we see our chance to make something good for us. We want to take advantage of the opportunity. In other words, we want to take this chance for us. Next, maybe you are a member or a subscriber of Disney Plus. After witnessing the success of Netflix, Disney decided to video streaming by creating Disney Plus. So, there was a video streaming industry, and now Disney wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. They wanted to join Netflix. In other words, Disney decided to enter the video streaming market. They want to join the market. Next, look at these beautiful new products. Coca-Cola recently, it's by creating coffee-infused cola. So Coca-Cola is always looking for the next new idea, something new that they can make. They want to extend their product line. They want to add new products. Now look at this item. It's a very practical item. All successful products are convenient and helpful. They of the customer. So if the customer needs to do something, they need a tool to meet that need. All successful products meet the needs of the customer. Next, look at this beautiful piece of technology. Tech companies are always innovating. Samsung, with the invention of flexible LED screens, they made a breakthrough. Think about a wall or a ceiling. When you make a breakthrough, it means you broke into a new area. You did something new. Here, Samsung made a breakthrough with flexible LED screens. Now, in the listening part, we listened to Dr. Kate Pitts, who gave us her opinion of some important breakthroughs. She's a researcher at the University of Oxford, and she discussed the 3 best innovations or business ideas of the last 15 years. She defined innovation as the ability to look at what everybody else sees and see something different. In other words, innovation is creativity. In her discussion, she listed the USB stick, compact CDs, and the digital camera as being 3 incredibly important innovations. In Unit 4, we learned 2 verb tenses. Take a look at the examples below. Can you remember what the verb tenses are called? Let's look at number 1. Adam visited Beijing last year. This verb tense is the past simple. In the second example, He was working for Apple in 2003. This is past continuous. If you look at the past continuous, we have a be verb, he was, and a verb with ing. He was working. But when do we use these two verb tenses? Let's start with the past simple. The past simple is used to describe completed actions or events in the past. Something that happened and then finished. We need to remember the spelling rules for past simple verbs. Regular verbs end with ed. For example, jump, jumped. However, if the verb ends with the letter E, we simply add the letter D. Taste, tasted. And if the verb ends with the letter Y, we need to change the Y to I. Study, studied. In the case of irregular verbs, the verb will change completely. Eat, ate. Go, went. In this case, we must simply memorize the irregular verbs and their spelling. For past continuous, we must use a be verb and an ing verb. He was working. Notice how the construction is very similar to the present continuous. I am working. And past, I was working. When we see the word past, it means that the be verb must be past, and continuous means ing. There are three main uses for the past continuous, but in all of these uses, we are describing an action in progress in the past. In the first usage, we're describing an action in progress at a specific time in the past. This is our first example. He was working for Apple in 2003. Last week, I was studying a new chapter in my book. This is a specific time. And the action is a long action. It was in progress for a long time. Our second use is to describe two long actions, or two actions in progress simultaneously. So remember, we had two long bars and they moved together. In this usage, we must include the word while. She was sleeping while he was driving. These are two long actions in progress and they are happening simultaneously. In the final use, we are describing an action in progress that is interrupted by another short action in the past. In this usage, we should use the word when. I was eating when you called. Remember in our lecture, we had a long bar. I was eating, ding, when you called. If you look closely, you'll notice that we are combining a past continuous verb with a past simple verb. And remember, we should use the word when we do this. Great. Now for our participation work this week, I want you to go on Classmaker. We are going to have our first test of the semester. Because of the midterm cancellation, this midterm exam cancellation, this test has become worth a little bit more. So originally it was worth 3% of your grade, but now it is worth 5% of your total class grade. To take this test, you must have the listening files ready. So please open the YouTube page in another tab and be ready to listen to the files as necessary. One more thing. When you take this test, because this is an actual test and not a practice, there will be a time limit. So, go to Classmarker and you'll see that the test is available for 1 week. Let's say your lecture is on Monday and it's available until the Monday after. However, once you click on the test and you begin the test, there is a 1 hour time limit. Okay, so you have a week to choose the time for your test, but once you begin, you must finish the test in 1 hour. This is so that it can simulate a real test period that we would have in class. Okay, and of course, we should always complete our attendance quiz. The attendance quiz and test number 1 are two separate quizzes on class marker. So make sure that you check them. As usual, your attendance quiz is open to be retried an unlimited amount of times, and you have an entire week to do the attendance quiz. All right, that's it for this week's lecture. It's a little shorter than usual, but it's because we are having a review and test week. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy your week. See you next time.